Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Itinerant Spirits Investor Webinar. I'm Robin Holt from Jigsaw Agency, and I've had the pleasure of working with Brad and the team at Itinerant Spirits on this campaign. While I'd love to throw over to Brad really quickly to introduce himself and talk all about the business, I just want to really quickly start off and just explain the structure for today's webinar. So we're going to be starting off with a bit of a backstory in the business. We'll go through the slides around about 15 to 20 minutes where Brad will give you a really good potted history on the business, what it's done in a very short period of time, how it's grown and established itself, what the capital raise is all about, and how you can get involved. And I just wanted to highlight as well that now is really an interesting time in the campaign because we're coming up to the very end of the expression of interest campaign where the investment offer will be opening on Tuesday next week. So if you have expressed interest to invest, then you will receive an email as soon as that campaign opens and be able to gain access to the offer document and read all about the details of the business in there. But I think now's probably a really good time to throw over to yourself, Brad, and hear all about Itinerant Spirits and go through the business. But just before we do so, for everybody who is here and would love to have your questions answered, please do use the Q&A feature to do so. We'll see the questions stack up and we'll go through them all once we've gone through the business and all the slides on the history of it. So Brad, thank you so much for taking the time and we'd love to hear from you.
Thanks, Robin. Yeah, look, it's great to be here today representing Itinerant Spirits. So yes, I am co-founder of Itinerant Spirits. My name's Brad Wilson. Thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, look, I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about Itinerant Spirits, about what we're doing, what we've done, and where we're going. So an exciting journey, as you mentioned, Robin. Only 2 years. It feels like we have achieved a lot in these 2 years, and we're ready to take the next step forward, which is welcoming a group of, I think, like-minded, passionate investors who are happy to join our journey and help us build and build something that moves. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the story of Itinerant.
Awesome.
Should I start sharing now?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. All right, guys. So yes, so welcome to the wayward, the wild, and the well poured. And the story of Itinerant, it begins in 2019. So I'll tell you a little bit through our timeline because we have only been trading for 2 years. So in 2019, the idea for Itinerant Spirits began. You'll see Ballarat there as our home. The concept started pre-COVID in 2019, and in 2020 we started to develop our story. And to be honest, that was an exciting time because we're building something from scratch here, and we knew we wanted to be in Ballarat. We knew there's opportunity in terms of regional tourism, especially for a spirits brand and manufacturing, and we're supported well by the city of setting up here in Ballarat. So we developed our story. We built plans around the name Itinerant. For those of you who are not sure what itinerant means, it does mean to travel from place to place. So the idea of two passionate co-founders who had traveled the world, returned to Australia a little bit wiser and experienced, I suppose you'd say. And so, yeah, we set up Itinerant Spirits in Ballarat. In 2021, we secured our lease at the Good Shed. So that was being redeveloped during this time by a Melbourne group for the city here in Ballarat. It was a disused train goods shed. It was built in the 1860s, and I'll show you, you saw that original picture there in the beginning. 165 years old, a huge amount of history in Ballarat here around, the gold rush, obviously. And we thought here we are today to bring that contemporary story of Ballarat of makers and like that energy around creativity. It was a bold place. It was always entrepreneurial, and the Good Shed seemed the right place to do that. The itinerant workers that worked at this shed for the 160 or 140 odd years had passed through from station to station all the way through Western Victoria, and we just figured this is a great place to set up Itinerant Spirits. So the design and the distillery took place over 2021 for our venue, and the distillery design, and obviously the product design, which I'll share with you some of our products that we've been developing over the last couple of years, and a little bit more of what's to come. Forwarding on, this is our venue, as you can see, Itinerant Spirits at the Good Shed here. Beautiful space, amazing bones. You know, we didn't have to do too much in terms of showcasing the building. It just shines. You know, metre thick bluestone walls. You can see my background behind me as well, which is our venue, our bar, and the hero piece is our copper still, 3,000 litre German Cotter still. And it's a whiskey producing still and a vodka producing still. So we always knew we were going to create a house of brands, if you like, in terms of Itinerant Spirits. But a lot of our time and effort here went into developing the building and the venue and our home, as you see. In 2023, we opened our venue pretty much 2 years to last month in October. So obviously a lot of work goes into developing a business, and bringing that to fruition and executing that. So 2 years ago, we've been trading at our Good Shed. In 2024, we achieved distribution via Paramount and ALM for our products, which are coming up in my slides. So I'll demonstrate a couple of those products to you. And that gave us some great legs, you know, while we're building our home here in Ballarat and having locals support us in terms of getting around our venue and visiting us, and tourism aspect of people coming to Ballarat. You know, we thought these products are going to sit one day, you know, out on the shelves proudly around Australia, and if not at some stage, you know, across the world. So distribution with Paramount was fantastic. That means our products are getting into hands, into venues, into bars, hospitality venues around Victoria and Australia. ALM was another fantastic on board there in terms of further reach into independent bottle shops, you know, and on off-prem. So 2024 was we're off and running essentially, and here we are, 2025. 2 years trading, and we did set up Itinerant Spirits to become a whiskey production distillery, as well as a place that people could frequent and visit. And so 40,000 litres of whiskey we achieved with a lot of hard work and using local grains here in Ballarat, around Joe White, which is a 160-year-old business here. We have a great relationship with those guys where we get our grains. We're using volcanic spring water from Blackmount, so just down the road. So we are really building something quite special here, I think, with the assistance of, you know, a range of businesses local and not too far away here to showcase Western Victoria. So 40,000 litres of whiskey aging, that will be due to probably be released end of 2027, so still a couple of years away. And then during that time, during 2025 as well, we were shortlisted as a best distillery bar in the Sydney Bartender Awards. So that was fantastic in terms of the venue being recognised for, you know, the efforts that have gone into the design and the experience there, in some great company there with Four Pillars and Starwood and Never Never and some of those big players in the industry.
Sorry to interrupt, Brad, but do you mind just zooming out a little bit just on the presentation? Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect.
Just losing a little bit there. So that's our timeline. So in those short 2 years, here we are today. We feel like we're very much on our way and going places. Like our name suggests, you know, we're very much about celebrating wanderlust and journey. So we feel here we are with the future before us. Our flagship venue here in Ballarat, a fantastic, strong visitor economy here, and only growing really. So there's a 2.8 million visitor economy here with a spend here on average around $800 million a year. So fantastic place to set up a business and rally, you know, the tourism dollar around our business. We've had some great success with our spirits, out in the marketplace, obviously, but also being awarded a range of medals, both here in Melbourne and internationally in San Francisco and London, not just for the spirit, but also for the product design. So, as you can tell from our venue, we've put a lot of effort into the visual experience of what Itinerant Spirits is. So working with some amazing, designers and contributors for the venue, obviously, and the products. We have approximately 2,000 engaged customers. This is on our email list, so many of you may have joined that list, of course. And this is across purchases online via Shopify, via our website, events that we run, owned events and external events, and our frequent visitors, of course, who come to experience Itinerant Spirits at our venue. So we're building that. That's only growing, which is fantastic. National distribution, I mentioned previously, and earlier this year, we've been accepted by Dan Murphy's. So we're in 20 odd Dan Murphy's and half a dozen BWS around Metro Melbourne, as well as here in Ballarat. So that's a fantastic sort of local ranging. That's the starting space for us as we continue to drive into off-premise and build that relationship with the big boxes. That's part of our further future growth strategy. 200% year-on-year bottle sales. So that's been an exciting side of the business while we're focusing on the venue as our home, as a place that will do or has done so far the majority of the heavy lifting of our business and growth. Bottle sales year-on-year multiplying by almost doubling is a fantastic achievement with a nice slender team that we have working with us. But yes, the focus here is we believe with the size of the business and distillery that we have built and invested in the production side of things, we have great opportunity for volume here. So our larger play here is external bottle sales and growth in the wholesale market across Australia. And yes, that number there of 40,000 litres of whiskey. So that's our first 160 odd barrels that we've laid down with James, our distiller, overseeing that delicious, what will be a fantastic product. So great start for the first 2 years. Little image here of James and some of our whiskey barrels, our ex-bourbon barrels. So I just wanted to share here the volume of the business in that the revenue streams that we are generating, majority at the stage, as I mentioned, coming from the venue as a place for people to really experience what Itinerant Spirits is, from our spirits, storytelling, masterclasses we run there, cocktail making classes, distillery tours, so people can get a real feel for what we're doing. Revenue stream of our products, as I mentioned, being sold with great margin in our venue as takeaway purchases, online through our e-commerce store, as well as externally in wholesale. We participate in terms of building our brand and our awareness and our marketing side of the business in a range of events that could be popping up in collaboration with venues and other hospitality venues, sporting events and distillery events across Victoria, a range of owned events as well, where we showcase those our venue, whether it be in summer externally outside our Itinerant Spirits venue, with Melbourne Food and Wine Festival, some great collaborations coming up. So that revenue is coming from a variety of streams there, not to mention the wholesale as well. Just a little bit on our products, which we're very proud of. We have focused on gin and vodka, and products that celebrate wanderlust, I guess, and journey. Knowing that drinking occasions are out there being shared by everyone, by people all around the world, we find that idea of sharing a drink and a conversation with people, there's usually a glass in hand, whether it be a glass of spirits or otherwise. But that idea of connecting over story about where you've been and where you're going on your journey, on your life journey, we feel that's a really strong passion point and drinking occasion to play in. So we're leveraging the story of journey. Gallivanta gin, designed by an award-winning designer in Texas called Chad Michael. studios. So Chad just focuses on glass and spirits production. So winning awards for the design, which is fantastic. Just sharing here a little bit more of our product extensions here, our travel packs and carry packs and take with you gift packs, as you can see. Also our travel flask, which is quite a unique vessel for a 375 ml bottle. So that's getting a little bit of traction locally and across Victoria with wholesalers picking that up, which is fantastic. And it's just a nice way of being able to take something with you, enjoy that travel experience. It's a sustainable model, refilling, and so yeah, quite a unique vessel. And our RTD cans, which you can see there, Gallivanter is our first foray into the RTD side of the business. So part of this raise with our crowdfunding is to help us expand that RTD range and with our other spirits, vodka with our whiskey to come. Our vodka here from the wild west of Victoria. So all our grains are grown in the Wimmera and the Mallee by farmers, around Warracknabeal and Horsham and up that way. So fantastic bunch. The grains get sent down here to Joe White, malted just down the road. It's nice to say it's just 10 minutes down the road where we can fill up our bulk containers, sustainable bins, and produce our vodka and our whiskey, and celebrate that wild west of Victoria and tell that story of that food bowl that is Western Victoria and why we're here. A little bit of an extension here on our vodka range as well. So just recently we've launched 3 signature flavors for Van Setter, using some amazing flavor combinations. And our products are built in that premium space, achievable and accessible in terms of price point. We've kept our prices very accessible for retail and for consumers and wholesale. But being able to produce premium products, there is a lot of room in the industry for premiumization and growth in that space. So rather than create, cordial flavored vodkas, we've gone for some real great quality combinations of flavors, which we're getting some fantastic traction via on-prem bars and venues for cocktail making, which is fantastic. James Fairley, you saw before, our distiller, fantastic with flavors and an amazing background of third generation distilling. So James has amazing experience running bars and venues, but also distilling incredible spirits that we're really quite proud of. Yes, so that's our vodka production. I guess the path ahead, which is really interesting for us as a business and a company, is the conception that there is opportunity out there to be a bottled goods company, Itinerant Spirits, and celebrate that idea of quality spirits, but then also looking to own those drinking occasions. And I think the idea of a bottled goods company playing in that travel space is really exciting, really interesting, and allows for a lot of potential growth. And while that might not happen immediately, while our focus is on spirit production and growing our brands and awareness of our venue, the opportunity in the future is around developing a range of travel goods and travel experiences and itineraries and clothing range of and celebrating that lifestyle brand of Itinerant. So while that's still being shaped, we see that coming into play more so in the next couple of years and into 2025 in the future. But as you can see, the opportunity in spirits in Australia is around $2.4 billion, which is a large piece to sort of play a part in that industry. The travel goods industry in Australia is similar size and value there. But the adventure side of tourism starts to really grow. So we see a lot of opportunity in the future of playing in Itinerant, playing in this space of travel and creating a true lifestyle brand. So look, that's a little bit of, I guess, rundown of our business, where we are today, where we're going. Very excited to have as many interested investors and people who are joining the call and otherwise be part of Itinerant Spirits. We can't wait to look to grow that passion around what we're building and for people to be part of that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brad, and thank you everybody for the amazing questions coming in so far. I can see them coming thick and fast. So I we'll absolutely start off and get through all of these questions, but definitely for anybody who's sitting there and has a burning question, please do ask it in the Q&A, and we will go through these questions one by one. So just starting off with a question here from Stuart. Stuart's asked, how much are you thinking to raise, and is there a plan B, C, or D, etc., if the figure is much more or less than anticipated? So, just to provide a little bit of detail on this, in the offer document, you'll have a use of funds table for the minimum subscription amount and the maximum subscription amount. So the minimum subscription amount will highlight which areas of the business will be funded, and then the maximum subscription amount will obviously allow the business to fund other aspects of growth. But Brad, I know you can provide a lot more detail on this, so I'll hand over to you to answer.
For sure. Thanks, Robin. So yeah, great question. First and foremost, we're focused on this raise, which is a range of $200,000 to $2 million for this crowdfund raise. So this is our first plan priority, and from that, that'll allow us to achieve further growth within the business in a number of ways. So we're looking to invest in the venue further, and that means increasing our food experience, and so looking to build a kitchen into Itinerant Spirits. So, and we've got a fantastic concept there, which we think will only really grow the tourism side of Ballarat as well, in terms of Itinerant Spirits becoming a true destination venue here at the Goodshed. So yeah, look, a portion of that crowdfund success will go into building our kitchen and staffing ourselves in that respect for the venue. Another segment will be going to production of our RTDs and building out our vodka RTDs, which are in progress at the moment in terms of flavor and production. Sales and marketing, like it's a capital intensive industry, and obviously building these brands, sales and marketing, we need to be further out there and really growing those brands. So adding team members as well as further external advertising and growing that. So look, I think based on what the success of this cap raise looks like with crowdfunding, we'll take the next step, plan B and plan C down the line. But yes, as everyone's aware, building a business from scratch is capital intensive.
Yeah, of course, of course. And Rowan's asked here, how long is your lease on the Goodshed?
So we've got a 11-year lease. So
Yeah.
With option further after that. So we're 2 years down, so to speak. So yeah, we're there for a long time. We've put a lot of effort and obviously established the production facility there in terms of there's a lot of infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely. No, understood. And Alex here has asked some great questions, and I think I'll ask them to you one by one, so we can provide enough detail and substance to each answer. So Alex has asked, all the info I've seen speaks to revenue, but not other metrics that show the success of the brand, EBITDA or net profit after tax. It would be good to understand the expenses side of this. Also, just to preface this, the financial statements will be in the offer document, which we will be released to anybody who's expressed interest to invest early on November 18th. So then in there, you'll be able to see the P&L, cash flow statement, balance sheet, changes in equity statement, and these figures will be in there.
That's correct. So I think the best way is to when that comes out next week, that's all very visible. In terms of expense of the business, yes, based on revenue, the story at the moment. But yeah, look, our expenses are varied, broad. Obviously, people costs are there, production costs are there, sales and marketing. That's where we see the strength of raising additional funds to help us build that. So brand equity, we're only 2 years old, so we're growing the minds of consumers. But the plan is to further. Well, obviously, that's our opportunity in the marketing side.
I think to make sure that we can provide sort of as much as we can here, top line, your FY financial figures are sort of around just under the 1.7 mil mark. I was looking at your P&L earlier just to sort of reflect that, but you've invested quite heavily into being able to make sure that the business is in a position to capitalize on growth, and you're not sort of raising capital to increase your production capacity. Your production capacity is there, and actually puts you in a position where you can see significant growth. A lot of distillers typically might have sort of chipped away and grown the business slowly, but made profit in certain years, whereas you've invested quite a lot into your location, your distilling capacity, and your ability to be able to grow. So therefore, marketing and fitting out the kitchen is realizing revenue within that business and within the opportunity itself. And there's a question a little bit further down around FY26 figures, which we won't be able to sort of discuss in too much detail because of them being forecasted figures. So we'll do our very best to provide as much substance on this as possible. But also the piece on the second question here from Alex is, given whiskey is untested, what is the planned RRP on prem versus off-prem sales? There's a lot of whiskey to move, circa around about 57,000 bottles, even as no more is made. So yeah, definitely an interesting question there.
Yeah, so it's the route to market with whiskey. Production, flavor, and the energy has been put into developing that recipe. So we're ex-bourbon barrels predominantly, with a mix of red wine barrels from Western Victoria. A lot of 57,000 bottles if you're looking at that number. Yes, that'll give us enough for probably the first couple of years, 2 years, maybe 3 years of market for growth there to launch that brand. So yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, awesome. And what are the numbers of bottle sales year on year of other products, as this will sort of help to understand sales channels for whiskey? Of course, in market, if you've got other products out there, it's going to be easier to be able to then grow and expand whiskey on the wholesale off-prem side.
Yeah, so bottle sales this year, 15 to 20,000, forecast to 20, close to 20,000. That's a good mix of gin and vodka. Gin is leading the way for us, probably a 60-40 split. So it's probably, if we can, as we are growing and as brands are building, and we've got obviously 2 to 3 years to sort of build that whiskey brand, which is developing as well in terms of the bottle and plan and strategy there. So we're expecting probably 15,000 for our first year whiskey bottles.
Yeah, great. Yeah, awesome. And Bruce here has asked a question which I see come up every time for distilleries. Is there a succession plan in place for the master distiller to future-proof the brand and have a junior distiller working under them? So your key man issue question.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, look, recognizing great talent and building that talent into the business is what we're planning here with succession. So, James, we have a second distiller, Liam, an assistant distiller, who is assisting James. But yes, James is very much part of the business, and future proofing that with James is our plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And does the amount that we invest, Adams here has asked, does the amount we invest convert to a percentage of the company value? In short, yes. And then if choosing to exit further down the track, does the most recent valuation determine the return on investment? In short, in simple terms, yes. But to provide as much detail as possible. So obviously this is an equity crowdfunding round. So the amount of equity that you receive in the business is proportionate to the amount that you invest. And retail investors can invest up to $10,000. Investors that are wishing to invest more than $10,000 need to be wholesale investors and provide a wholesale investor certificate. And we've provided some detail on what that looks like. But if you are unsure, please do reach out and we can provide a wholesale investor certificate. It's very simple and accountable. We just need to verify your wholesale investor status. But effectively, Yes, the amount that you invest will convert to a percentage of the company in accordance with the valuation that is set, which will be presented to you on Tuesday next week. And then, as far as an exit is concerned, I think because this is always going to come up, and it's always a question that everybody is really interested to know about at an earlier stage. You are really quite young as a distillery, but what sort of, exit plan and strategy would you be most open to? You guys know the industry very, very well. You've got a lot of experience within your board of directors around scale in this industry. So what opportunities would you really be open to for investors?
Yeah, look, I guess in an exit plan, the opportunity there is a trade sale within the industry, which
Yeah,
we've got a lot of work to do to build our brand for that
yeah,
radar.
yeah.
Of course, potentially an IPO or a share buyback is the opportunity here with the exit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And Scott here has asked, as a Ballarat guy, well, he said, as a Ballarat guy, I love the building and location. Highly competitive space, economies of scale are crucial, and you are likely required to become significantly larger. Is this the plan? And is your intention to be taken over like many of the small players? So quite a similar, I guess, question to segment two from the previous one.
Yeah, sure. So we have built for volume and economies of scale here. We're 2 years old, so while we have a strategy and plan in place, a 5-year milestone and a 10-year milestone. I mean, if there was an opportunity to work with a larger owner, definitely open to seeing what that looks like, of course.
Yeah.
But I figured like 2 years in, we've still got a lot to achieve before we even contemplate that. But yeah, we're here with a lot of scale, as you can see behind me here, with this still production capacity is quite large.
What percentage of your production with what you're producing right now, how much more production capacity do you have essentially as a business? Because that's a pretty key point often when distilleries are at an earlier stage, is they're constantly, hitting the cap on production capacity.
Yeah, look, we've got plenty of capacity. We're putting out 50,000 bottles, 50,000 bottles a year. The distillery is capable of mixed spirit of 1 million bottles plus.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
2 years in, the idea
Mm.
of growing those bottle sales next year to doubling those and doubling those again year after year, we've got plenty of capacity.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fantastic at such an early stage to have that kind of capacity. And Charles here has asked, glad to be here. What's the estimated profit you're looking to generate in the financial year for 2026? Being a financial forecast, we won't sort of be able to delve into too much detail on this, but I think it's probably important, Brad, to highlight, you've spent these first 2 years focused on growth. You're not focused on profit margins right now. It's more about focused on growth, getting yourself to scale, making sure that you're actually in a position to be able to generate enough revenue to continue to put yourselves in a position where you can be profitable much further down the line. So maybe talk a little bit more about your continued path of where the business is going, and really maybe what the focus will be on, and as a result, whether or not it will be likely a bigger or smaller margin of profit in FY26, because obviously FY25 was not a profitable year, but maybe talk a little bit more about FY26.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, profitability, that whatever profits we are making, whatever money we are generating is going back into the business for growth. So that's our focus. Long-term goal here is building Itinerant Spirits, into a growth space of a range of brands. So expanding distribution and product lines and brand equity. So yeah, look, profitability is probably still a little bit further away for sure. 2026, 2027. But yes, we're just focused on, I mean, as a young business,
Yeah. Yeah.
growing our brands and generating revenue and then reinvesting that into the business. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, of course. And Zach's asked a great question here. What experience do you have within the team for the logistics side of adventure tourism?
Look, that's a very interesting component.
Yeah.
Um, aside from branding and passion around building that lifestyle,
Mm,
that's I think that the team is growing, and when the time comes to further expand into that space in terms of
mm,
product design and itineraries and so on like that, I think that's a space we'll get to. I think we had earmarked sort of year five, year four, year five to sort of really drive into that space. But apart from some original existing packaging design that we're doing with our spirits, t-shirt designs and graphics and that side of things in terms of lifestyle branding, we'll get to that place and we'll put the right person in place to develop and expand.
yeah, awesome. Awesome. What do you sort of see as the initial products or aspects of revenue that you can generate as a business? Just you're almost like your low-hanging fruit that you can capture when you do get to that point.
Yeah, look, I think it's fashion and retail side of things. So working with other brands and collaborating and creating a range of products, whether it be bags, overnight bags, travel bags,
Mm,
backpacks, jackets, t-shirts, clothing,
mm, mm,
those sorts of starting. It's a starting point, I think. Yeah, while we build out those other opportunities with itineraries and
mm,
travel related experiences.
mm. Mm, mm, mm. And what is the well, we've got a question here which we can sort of answer in as much detail as possible without obviously providing sort of projections on what the future looks like. But Paul's asked what is the expected ROI on the investments. Of course, it's important to highlight that every dollar that is raised in this capital raise will be used to fund growth of the business. So you can see there that the ceiling capacity is significant. So it will absolutely be, itinerants in a position to be able to say, okay, let's grow our spirits. They've already set the foundations to be able to, be selling whiskey in a few years, and start to, chip away at that and really focus on growth from a premise and off-premise side. Also, then there's the kitchen fit out. Maybe talk a little bit about what you've anticipated the kitchen fit out to look like in a little bit more detail as from a revenue generation perspective, just based on the tourism numbers. Um, but as far as an expected ROI, look, I mean, we can simply point to other businesses in the sector that have exited as some kinds of reference point. But as far as an ROI, there's sort of no guarantee on the exact percentage amount of ROI. But I think the key here to focus on is you're only 2 years in. This is you've invested very heavily for quite significant growth in the future. And I think that's the key to focus on with this raise.
Yeah, that's right, Robin. So, dividends potentially one day down the line in terms of return on investment. But at the moment, yeah, look, it is just focused purely on growth. So we can't offer a guaranteed return on investment apart from assisting us in building and developing our brands, laying down more whiskey, for further future release. E-commerce, I think, is an opportunity for us as well. And so a portion of what we raise will go into building more of a robust e-commerce
Yeah.
engine there as well.
Mm,
There's obviously higher margins for us from a perspective there. The kitchen itself, that's going to be exciting. That's a plan, so to speak. So
mm,
while we've got a venue with some space, we have a very small back of house area where we produce a range of food items for the experience of customers in venue. Putting something in place there is going to require a little bit more time and effort and design and
yeah.
space and
Yeah.
logistics. So yeah, look, that's a great idea of having a plan and then
Mm.
raising the correct value there to then put that plan into place.
Yeah, of course, of course. And Matthew here said, great presentation, thank you. What do you think got puts you guys, itinerant spirits above the rest of the vibrant industry? There's been and is still seemingly a flooded market of new spirits brand entering the market nationally and internationally. I think this is a really important point. And you watch the distillers and craft breweries watch the rest of the industry more closely than almost any other industry, I would say, out there. But what do you really think sets you guys apart above others, and how do you play in the space?
Yeah, look, well, a range of items there. Really, it's that. I mean, you're correct. It's a crowded marketplace, spirits and alcohol sector at the moment in Australia and really across the world. Everyone's facing
Mm,
the same challenges. But I think the strength we have with Itinerant is the breadth and the brand and the storytelling, the quality around the design, the products. Investing in great looking products that stand out on shelves and that sort of premium space is a long. It helps us go a long way. Investing in people, investing in the right people, and
mm.
people like James, who is integral to the business in terms of developing these flavors and building out products that do stand high, out there on the market on the shelf, from awards which give us sort of that credibility as well. To stand out. So look, it's a really combination of things. It's people, it's great product design, starting with great product and bottle, and then branding and storytelling and driving that marketing out there. That's what is going to set us apart.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the points that you'd made to one of the other potential parties separately. I remember in a conversation was actually around that tourism aspect, which where people are looking for experiences. If they go to Tasmania, they've got so many distilleries in Tasmania. If they're going out in this region in Western Victoria, there really aren't the same number of experiences, but the tourism is there. But the tourists don't necessarily have that many places to go in comparison. And what you have seen across the world, really, from earlier stage distilleries, is providing experiences. While the competition at a wholesale level is so fierce, especially when you look at the likes of the bottle shops on with Liquorland, BWS, and Dan Murphy's. That like they really are highly competitive. There's still opportunity within there, but it's creating that experience that I think that an awful lot of distilleries have done, and Itinerant has sort of highlighted in the market. There's actually not that much available out there in Western Victoria, and that's sort of the highlight as far as it's concerned to me from what your investment opportunity presented.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, there are only a handful of distilleries around Ballarat, some established distilleries and otherwise, and even this side of Western Victoria. So the benefit of being, a short an hour and a half out of Melbourne, I guess that everyone's fighting for that share of tourism dollar, but being so
Yeah.
close to Melbourne for the day trips or the overnight stays, being able to step off a train even. And crossing the road 10 meters and having an experience here at
Mm.
Experience. And the Good Shed built as a destination here in Victoria,
Yeah.
in Ballarat with the support of Victoria. I mean, yeah, we feel like we've primed ourselves, we've got ourselves in a great position to then build and take that share of tourism dollar.
Yeah, great. Yeah, fantastic. And Adam here has asked really directly, what's in it for me? Obviously, shares in the company, which we have talked about, and talked about the future and where you're going and what the business's opportunity is. But maybe now's a good time to also highlight what some of the rewards are alongside shares. So investing at certain tiers will unlock certain rewards as investors. And Brad, I know that you and the guys have sat down and presented a number of really, yeah, quite generous rewards alongside shares. So, do you want to just share a little bit of information on that?
Yeah, so the tiered reward system, from as little as $250, to greater than 20,000, $50,000. We've tried to create a range of experiences that are very focused around the brand and as a point of difference. So we have limited edition itinerant t-shirts which will be coming out, which are a great piece of wearable merch in terms of supporting itinerant. An annual itinerant party. So that's something we really want to. We're excited by people joining our journey is getting together. That for that one time a year and having a fantastic. Occasion to celebrate and share in success and what that looks like. So the itinerant party and being a stakeholder to get that VIP ticket is one of our rewards. We've got an interesting 3 litre cask we're calling Brad and James whiskey, which is some whiskey that was laid down outside of itinerant, but just between myself and James in terms of developing that flavour. So quite a unique, rare little insight into the whiskey space. So a 3 litre barrel, and yeah, like a experience where travel experience, I suppose you'd say. So going around to our partners in Ballarat and outside of Ballarat, and experiencing where we get our grain from, where we get our water from. Obviously, a distillery tour and James and myself being there, but the experiences are where we see a lot of focus from people, enjoying that, getting to know the business. So, yeah, we've got a range of tiered rewards there. So it should be fun. I mean, looking forward to seeing those released and people getting around that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. There's lots to offer for the people in the region. And Charles here has asked around the percentage of the company available to shareholders. So the valuation itself will be presented in the offer document and is sort of just being completely finalized at this point in time right now. And so what I can tell you is it looks like it's going to be double digit equity for the total amount of the raise itself at this early stage, but the valuation is sort of being finalized and will be presented to everyone who's expressed interest to invest and will then receive that offer document on Tuesday next week. Just as well as that, a couple of other questions here. What's the price per share? So the price per share is $1 after issuing new shares and actioning a share split in the company. But it will be the valuation that will sort of present the amount of the percentage of equity, depending on the amount that you actually invest, that will determine that. But the other question just below is what cities are you exporting to right now?
Exporting internationally, very early stages of developing that. So no cities at this stage, no out of Australian export, but with plans for that to happen within 2026.
Maybe let's pick your brain for a second, Brad. Where do you see the export opportunities in this space for yourself as a business?
Yeah, look, our focus, I think, at this stage will be Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
So we're talking to a range of distributors at the moment and putting feelers out there and seeing what the industry is like and what the opportunity is for new Australian brands entering the market into Singapore and Malaysia, telling a real provenance story. I suppose that's our biggest strength and point of difference here is where we get our ingredients from and telling that story of Western Victoria. So Southeast Asia would be our first starting point.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. That sounds great. And just a follow-up question on the previous one from Zach. How closely are you working with Ballarat and Victorian tourism as far as your plans to become a tourism destination?
Yeah, I think the team here in City of Ballarat and Midwest Tourism and Visit Victoria, I think they're doing an amazing job of really flying the flag for Ballarat. So we're here as a destination location for an experience for people to come into Ballarat. So we're getting a lot of support from Midwest Tourism and the City of Ballarat and with Visit Victoria as well. So working really closely and taking every opportunity we can and regular catch-ups with the team here in the city to play our part and play our role.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And are there any plans to add a tequila range? Anthony's asked.
Not at this stage.
I think you're doing enough.
We've got a bit to go on.
Yeah, that along with the adventure of apparel sales and retail, yeah, there's a lot to try and focus on. In regards to RTD, is the plan to supply low calorie and sugar content to meet consumer demand for healthier options that seem to be on trend?
Yeah, I think those are points we're currently looking at. I mean, yeah, sugar-free, low-cal, quality ingredients. Yes, that's the space of growth. So it seems at the moment with RTDs.
Yeah, great. Yeah, fantastic. Um, and what experience has the head distiller had, distilleries that they've worked at, etc.?
Yeah, look, so James grew up in a distillery in Scotland, so I feel like he's absorbed a lot of information there from his grandfather and his father. And yeah, James joined us from Four Pillars. So he'd been working there for 4 years, distilling
Mm,
amazing
mm,
things at
mm.
Four Pillars,
Yeah, yeah,
before traveling over the other side of Melbourne and joining us here in Ballarat. So yeah, look, incredible experience, I think. And he's just really getting started, especially with the whiskey. It's going to be exciting.
what encouraged him to come across?
Me. I think, yeah, well, I was
Yeah,
always chatting with James, thinking like if we could do something down the
yeah,
line together, that'd be amazing. So yeah, look, I think
yeah.
it was just the opportunity for him to make whiskey because he was just focusing on a gin side of things, I think at Four Pillars.
Mm,
Having worked in a whiskey bar for five years in Melbourne as well,
yep.
and growing up in a Scottish distilling family,
Mm,
the opportunity to make whiskey, and I guess you see from our still behind me, it's a different approach to making whiskey. It's not a traditional two pot distilling method like the Scottish method.
yep.
It's a column and hybrid still there. So it's a straight to spirit still. So we're making, I suppose, more of an American style of whiskey, if you like.
Yeah.
So breaking with tradition a little bit, James. But I think what he's developed and the flavor is developed and the product
Yeah.
is going to be quite unique. Australia is really just still developing what Australian whiskey looks like. So I think there's plenty of room to create our version of what that looks like.
Yeah, great. Yeah, fantastic. And Mark here has asked a question which I can cover off. So, what is the proposed governance structure upon a successful CSF campaign? So, every investor, the investor's rights will be listed in sections 3 and 4 of the offer document. And effectively, every single investor has an opportunity to purchase ordinary shares in the company with voting rights upon accepting CSF shareholders, so crowdsourced funding shareholders, as ASIC states they are. The company will then be required to provide an annual report. Um, Brad, have I just lost you? The company will then be required to provide an annual report as far as each year, which will come out on October 31st, and that will contain financial information. That will contain all kinds of information on the business and the background and what it's done in the past. And effectively, yeah, it will be the one sort of requirement that's there. But what Brad and the team will endeavor to do is to provide quarterly updates to each shareholder upon investing into the company directly. I've seen another question below as well, just asking around how long do you have to make a decision to invest once the proposal is sent? So the investment offer will open next Tuesday and will be open for roughly 2 weeks. We're just finalizing the close date of the investment offer. But each retail investor has 5 calling off business days to pull back from their decision should they choose to do so for any particular reason. It's part of the requirement in the legislation. So ASIC have put this in there for retail investors. So they do have 5 calling off rights upon actually making the commitment to invest. But as far as the opportunity is concerned, the window to actually invest will only be roughly 2 weeks.
Yep.
Roughly 2 weeks. And we've got a question here from Stuart and Brad. I'm glad you're back. I thought we'd lost you for a second, but question here from Stuart. I'm in Western Australia. Will I be able to buy here before going internationally? I think is that regards to buying into the company before you go internationally? Yes, certainly during this investment offer. But Brad, do you want to maybe cover off this?
Yeah, interesting question. So, whether that be buy products in Western Australia
Yeah.
or invest in the company,
Mm.
look, our expansion will push out of Victoria into South Australia and Western Australia, and as we go nationally in terms of product availability, always online, of course. But in terms of the shares, yeah, look, this is your opportunity to jump in and be part of Itinerant Spirits in the next couple of weeks before any further international interest. Yeah.
Fact, actually, let's maybe talk a little bit about different state rollouts and where you see the opportunity presenting itself, because obviously you've got Western Victoria, you want to grow in that region, you want to make sure that you can capture as much of the tourism revenue with experience in your venue, but you'll want to be stocked in various locations where there's a really reasonable amount of opportunity to be stocked in. Maybe talk a little bit about the different states across Australia and where you're really going to try and capture some market share and roll out, because distilleries, craft breweries, all kinds of businesses tend to do this almost with a state and region focus.
Yeah, I mean, growing a business, we're only, as I said, 2 years old. So starting in
Yeah.
our backyard, really building out in Victoria first, having a head of sales, Brett, positioned in Melbourne to encapsulate the Melbourne audience there, we don't have a distributor. We're self-distributing at this stage. So starting Victoria, really saturating here first before we move further into other states. We're available in a bunch of places in Sydney and Queensland already, and Western
Yeah.
Australia, and in South Australia, a handful of bars and venues. But yeah, the focus is obviously that's where our growth will come from, interstate.
Yeah, great. Yeah, fantastic. And Kate here has asked a great question. Maintaining quality control across various itinerant products will be critical for success. Whiskey is obviously a long-term product proposition requiring investment with no incoming cash flow while laid down. Will revenue from the other products sustain the whiskey investment and allow quality to be maintained?
Yes, almost answered the question there. So yes, investment and sales from existing products will allow for that. Quality production, yes, we take that very seriously. Everything's about not just taste and ingredients, production as well. So yeah, look, maintaining great relationships with our suppliers and continuing that quality assurance.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. And Stuart here has said storytelling and selling the benefits to the Ballarat community. Any thoughts around leveraging off the great news story of working with McCallum Enterprises on your journey so far?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's been a fantastic partnership, and working with local businesses and getting support as well. So yeah, McAllen assists us with our bottling capabilities. So whenever we need, we reach out to McAllen. So it's a fantastic alliance. So they'll send a team, and we'll create. It's a lot of great fun, I think, as well for that bottling day and getting people around our business and yeah,
Yeah.
it's fantastic to have that support.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. And just lastly here, Scott has asked, what would the home run long-term business look like? I.e., what needs to happen for this to be a long-term successful investment proposition? What a great question to end on.
Fantastic. Look, solid growth, year-on-year growth
Yeah,
is what we're sort of, we've alluded to, is what we're focusing on. But long term, I mean, yes, a successful whiskey that is exported around the world, along with our other spirits, being available anywhere you travel, so to speak. If you're in a bar in Europe, really embracing that itinerant nature by name, and finding our product available wherever people travel. I think that's our goal. That's going to take us some time, but that's the end goal. That's the focus.
yeah, I love that. And I think even uh, drilling down into what that looks like longer term, what aspects of that are the most exciting for you? Where do you even see? And let's just get creative here with what you can actually unlock as a business, and what ideas you may have for the future, for everybody, so we can end on that note, so we can understand the creative brain that you are, because I've loved chatting with you on what you want to try and what you want to do, because you're not short of ideas, you're always short of time to execute all of them. And I think that that's where the capital raise will really be able to unlock some necessary revenue to then be able to go after some of these growth opportunities.
Yeah, look, our real focus and immediate focus is spirits and production and growth and distribution in that respect. So
Yeah,
that the idea of Itinerant being available, as a a house of brands, our spirits being available around the world, export is where we're hopefully headed. Like it's a long road, it's a long journey to get there. With the Itinerant Spirits brand, one day becoming itinerant, and maybe it's not all about the spirits anymore. And then those items, those clothing items and travel goods are available and do allow people to experience itinerant in different parts of the world. Really, I think that's the opportunity. It's a global opportunity.
yeah, fantastic, fantastic. And thank you so much for the comments, everybody. And it's been great answering these with you. Thank you so much for coming along. Adam's asked a final question, which I will cover off, and has asked how many EOIs. We've gotten well over 1,000 EOIs so far, and yeah, have received a number of questions, had a number of conversations directly with potential investors, and it's been it's been really great to see the enthusiasm and support for yourself and the team, Brad. For such a young business, I think you guys have done an awful lot in a very short period of time. And we're all looking forward to the investment offer opening next week. We hope for everybody here that we've provided you with as much substance as you need. Please do email us directly if you have any other questions on the business that we weren't able to cover off. We will be sending around a recording to everybody who's here, so you can go back and check out any other part of the webinar that we have covered. But for everybody here, thank you so much. I'll hand over to yourself, Brad, to wrap things up and say any final remarks.
Thanks, Robin. And look, thanks everyone for joining today and people who will view this afterwards. Look, we're just really excited to have people, as I said, like-minded in the beginning, like-minded people who like what we're doing with our business and like our plans and want to be part of getting us where we're going. I think that to have a bunch of advocates, people who are really excited about what we're doing, that really excites us. So looking forward to the open.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Brad. And thank you to everybody here. Thanks for your great questions and for the conversation. It's been a pleasure. So we'll sign off and we'll see you soon.
Cheers. Thanks, Robin.
Thanks, everybody.